This is the Metal Roofing Learning Channel, brought to you by Western States Metal Roofing, one of the industry's best manufacturers of metal roofing and siding. With over 110 different colors and finishes to choose from, discover why architects, designers, and contractors make Western States Metal Roofing their go-to source. Download a free color catalog today and learn how you can save by buying factory direct at westernstatesmetalroofing.com.
So today I'm with Jennifer Jones with Ohana Dwellings, and we're here to talk about ADUs. What is the process start to finish for doing an ADU?
The thing about ADUs that people need to understand, first of all, is that there is a wide range of variance from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, even city to city in California. So the first thing that I would do is understand what is allowable within your jurisdiction. So that would be go to your city planning page, find out what's allowable. There are different maximum ADU requirements. So the maximum at this point for most jurisdictions is 1,200. However, that does vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Sometimes it's calculated based on the percentage of the primary dwelling. So go to your local planning website, understand what's allowed. From there, a lot of times, especially in California, they're having more and more pre-approved plans. So I would take a look at the pre-approved plans. So that can save you some time and money as far as from an architectural standpoint, because they've already seen these plans. They've already basically approved these plans, so that can a lot of times streamline the process. So I find out if there's a pre-approved plan, if that works for your particular purpose.
What about the type of foundation? Do you need a specific type of foundation for an ADU?
So building an ADU is very similar to building a main house. You'll typically find that the most cost-effective and widely used one is a slab-on-grade. So that's going to be your typical foundation that's used. There are other situations where you would use a crawl space, you could use pier beam, you could use pile. Those are all things that you can use, and those are in typically different soil conditions that would not allow for a slab-on-grade. There's also another product out there called hex pile foundation, and that's basically big screws that they screw into the ground. I know that there's quite a few ADU companies trying to use these hex piles because they're fast and they don't require a lot of excavation. Two downsides to it. One is they're more expensive typically than slab-on-grade, and two is a lot of permitting offices aren't used to seeing it. So anytime you get anything new that the permit office is seeing, they're going to have more questions and sometimes more pushback. But as they go through the market more permit offices are going to see it, and hopefully then there'll be a wider adoption.
So the ADUs that you work with, what do you see as the foundation for the bulk of them that you're doing?
Slab-on-grade, hands down. Slab-on-grade. Yeah, that's typically, as long as the soil conditions allow for it, that's typically going to be your most cost-effective, your easiest through permitting typically, unless you have some kind of geotech issue or some type of soil, or if you're in a coastal area that has some kind of sloping, and California has all kinds of topography. So, it can vary.
Right. What about plumbing for an ADU?
So plumbing for an ADU has a couple of different things that you don't necessarily take in consideration when you're building the primary residence. When you're building a primary residence, you find the utility lines and then you attach to it, and that's that. With ADU, you have a couple different options depending on what the requirements are with the jurisdiction and what your current capacity of your primary house has. So you have the water connection and the sewer connection. Sometimes you can share those connections, and sometimes you can't. You have to have individual connections, so you're not able to share those things. So that's obviously going to factor into the cost quite a bit. So if you have to have an independent water and sewer connection, that's going to increase the cost quite a bit. A couple other things that are kind of important for the plumbing, the hot water supply. A lot of ADUs will use a tankless water heater because it's more compact and efficient. So that's something that you have to take in consideration. And you also have to have the normal permits and inspections when building an ADU. So you still have to have the inspector come out and look at all the plumbing and approve all that stuff.
What type of permitting or land requirements are needed for an ADU?
So there are several types of permits that you'll want to investigate before you start your build. things to consider would be the zoning ordinance. So this would be the land use. The second that we touched on earlier was the lot size. That's also going to factor what size ADU you can put on the property. The next thing would be the density limits, how dense that neighborhood can be. So that would be your zoning. Some ADU specific requirements would be the size limit, which we touched on earlier, the height restrictions, the setbacks, the parking, and the owner occupancy. So those are all things that need to be considered.
So Jennifer, what is the process of getting permits for an ADU?
That's a great question. Everybody wants to know, how do I get permits? And it's one of the kind of the sticking points in building an ADU. So first, what you'll want to do is you're going to want to have a pre-application meeting with your planning department. That way you can get really clear about what it is that they're looking for. So when you submit your package, you have all of the essential items. The next step would be actually submitting the package. So this will be your plans, your architectural drawings, your site plans, and any additional assessments, such as your geotech and your soil. The next will be a review process. So the local planning department will go through and they'll review your package. Sometimes there's a public notice that they will require to let your neighbors know that you're going to be building an ADU. The permit is then issued, and then the inspections will then be scheduled along the build lines.
So it sounds kind of complicated. Is this something that people do on their own, or do they get help from yourself or different companies that help them along with this process?
So it's a little bit of both. So it is a complicated process. Just like regular development, regular land development, there is a good bit of complexity in it. Most people will opt to engage a ADU company, either a build company or a consulting company, to help them with the permitting process. I know that there has been a big effort for the planning departments to make it simpler, so just the average person can go through the permit process without that additional expense. I know Sacramento just released their dashboard that integrated an AI tool that helps people walk through the permit process. So that's something that we're going to be covering on our site in a little bit to kind of break that all down. As we move along, there will be more technology that's released to help people do this process on their own, because it's once you understand what the guidelines are, it's a repeatable process, but you have to know what the guidelines are.
So at Ohana Dwellings, what part of the process do you take on?
So we take on the pre-planning process. So we're in the design process. What we've done is we've developed a number of tools to help people streamline the design process. And what we do is we take their design plan, basically, and I'll go over that, in a second, as far as all the different tools. And we deliver that package to a local builder. We feel that the local contractor and local builder is going to be the best person or company to facilitate that build. They're the people that are there every day, boots on the ground. Those are the people that are going to be executing the build the best.
Do you help them through the planning process?
Yes.
Or is that the local contractor's job?
Yes, we do both. So we have a department that we do help them with their permitting, or if the contractor wants to do it, they can do it as well. Depending on the budget of the builder, the person, there's a couple different ways they can do it. They can do a total DIY, where they can basically go through, design the ADU. They can purchase the plans. They can purchase a framing, a whole kit from our website. Basically, if they want to do the build themselves, they can do a owner managed build. So an owner would then manage the subcontractors, or they can do a full service build, which the contractor would then handle the permitting, the build, facilitating. The contractor would quarterback basically everything.
How does Ohana streamline or accelerate the process for building an ADU?
Ohana streamlines and accelerates the building process through a combination of innovative technologies and customizable tools. So I'll go over the few of the tools that we offer. One is the advanced 3D configurator. And basically, this is a real-time configurator that allows people to design and configure their ADU in real time. Even before construction begins, they're able to do this right up front, so they can price things out up front based on the materials, not based on their site restrictions. That's entirely different can of worms. So they're able to get a clear picture of what the end result's going to look like, what's going to fit on their yard or in their yard, what's going to work in the particular situation. You know, do they want to go with more of economic materials? Are they going to be living in this? Do they want to have more high-end finishes? They're able to visualize all those things within the 3D configurator. So we also have pre-engineered models for cost effectiveness. You save on architecture, and you also save on a number of engineering. Of course, it has to be engineered for your lot. That's not going to happen ahead of time. But these are price-effective plans that you can choose from. We have 40 on the website. We'll probably have about 50 on the website later this week. The next thing would be the product configurator. So you're able to scroll across the entire internet and input any type of material that you want into the 3D configurator. So you're able, let's say you're on Floor & Decor, or you're on Home Depot, and you see a flooring that you really like, you can actually import that instantly into the 3D configurator, so you can see it and within, you know, spatial awareness.
So for example, we're a metal roofing company. We've spent a lot of time and money on developing 3D textures for our products. So they would just jump on, if they wanted a metal roof, they'd just simply jump on our website, choose one of the textures, and they can plug it right on in?
Absolutely. Yep, they can import it directly from your website. So the next tool that we have is the Construction Copilot. So that is a real-time support that offers guidance and education. It's to empower the homeowner to be educated about the process. So you can, just like we'll talk about the different types of siding and roofing, you can go in and you can ask, hey, what's the benefit of having a metal roof? What's the benefit of having metal siding? And it will compare the different options that you have and give you some really detailed answers.
Yeah, your website seems like a one-stop shop to really get this going.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work. It's always evolving to try to meet the needs of the market and homeowners and contractors. We work with both. But thank you very much.
Kind of going back to metal roofing, you see a lot of ADUs with metal roofing or metal siding?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love it. Is hands down, and not just because we're having this, this interview, but it's hands down one of my favorite materials. I love the durability of it. I love how modern it looks. I think it is absolutely a wonderful material that people should use for both roofing and siding. I love how it's low maintenance. I like how you have the board and batten wood look coming out. I think that is really interesting too. So a lot of people do like to mix the roofing and the wood look for the farmhouse modern or the coastal modern. A lot of times they want to mix woods and metal and different materials, to give that aesthetic design. I love how you can do all that with metal now. It looks just like wood, but you don't have the maintenance of wood. It's amazing.
And in the case of the board and batten, the metal probably isn't any more expensive because it's easier to install.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's an awesome product.
What are some things that you should look for in a general contractor when you're building an ADU?
So when looking for a general contractor, number one, you're going to want to ask them if they have any experience in building ADUs. ADUs are a little bit different than building your standard primary residence. So you'll want to ask them, number one, do they have any experience in this? If they do, I would definitely ask for references. I think that's really important to ask for references. Number two would be the license and insurance. You want to make sure that they're licensed and insured to build an ADU in your area. That's important. They need to have local knowledge of the ADU laws that are going on within your particular area. Yep. As I've said multiple times, it's very local knowledge. So you want to make sure that they're a local builder that has local knowledge and the differences between your area and say another area, because they do vary quite a bit. Right. So communication is really important. Transparency is really important. Pricing, getting upfront pricing. Of course, there's going to be hiccups along the way, so having a contingency plan is important. But working with someone who's transparent and can give you a very specific budget upfront is key.
Okay, so we're going to use Ohana to design it, and then you can either take it from there, or Ohana can refer you to somebody that can take it from there.
Exactly.
Want to learn more? Check out these videos.